Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are you all today? Today is quite, well, it's been on and off raining quite heavily. Hope everybody stay dry and safe, and also keep warm. Let me just get my board up before we start. Yeah, the day I was, I think when we do the morning sit, some mornings are also quite wet. And then I was thinking, for most people, yeah, it's still possible for us to stay dry, but then there are all the delivery services. They have no choice. Rain or shine, they still have to go. So there was one day when my order for food couldn't be delivered because there's no body who take up the request, to do the delivery. So good to keep this in mind. Good to keep this in mind. As we have in a way it's a luxury, that when there's rain or shine, we get to stay indoors and be sheltered. So I'd like to do a shout out to those who are in the service line, who are plying the road, whether doing delivery of parcels or delivery of food. So one very direct way we can extend our gratitude and our thanks is to be patient with them when they deliver. Because when the road condition is wet, you don't want them to be speeding and then getting into accidents. And then besides that, I was also thinking, how about all the insects, all the creepy crawlies? Some of them would manage to survive it. Actually many insects would drown. Or their wings or their little bodies would get wet, and they may not be able to move around so swiftly, and then they may get eaten up. So likewise, dedication to them. May all beings have safety. May they be protected. May they find a dry place to tide through the rainy season. So on to today's topic. Today's topic on attachment or detachment. We decided to have a play of the topic, to be or not to be attached or detached. Famous words. So let me switch to the whiteboard and then maybe write a bit. Here's my pen. Like this. So today's topic. In a way, today's topic can be shortened down to attached, or detached. So let's take a look at the topic for today. So all of us have our loved ones, yeah, our precious things that is precious to us, and everything that we have and we own, and we are attached to them because they bring us joy and comfort. So then, why is it that some people advocate detachment instead? Yeah. I recall that long time ago, when I was in NUS giving a talk. So at the end of the talk, one of the students asked a very interesting question. So she said she find the teaching on to remove our attachment to be very meaningful. But she has her family, her boyfriend, her studies. So how not to be attached, and because she still want to care for them, she still want to care for them. So how? Yeah. How? Yeah. So today's topic reminds me of that conversation, that the question that was asked. So there are a few things that perhaps we should sort of clarify, or maybe we can look at. So the first thing is, when we say that one is attached, then another related word is our attachments. And by attachments, we are not talking about those things that we put into our email. And then we have our detachment, to be detached. Is there such a thing as detachment? Well, there is, but probably not the same meaning, so I'm not going to write that. So what is the difference between being attached versus being detached? Yeah. The first thing is that these are English words. So there may be certain connotations that exist that actually don't necessarily present itself within the Buddhist context. Yeah, when we use it, maybe not meant to, but at the same time, because they are English words, so individuals may feel a certain way towards these words, certain connotations. So we still have to address them. So the thing about the first thing we want to perhaps look at is what does it mean to be detached? Yeah, what does it mean to be detached? So when we say we are attached to something, so what does it mean? So first of all, it can be people, or it can be events, or things. 人事物. Yeah, so variety of different things that we interact with. Let me just pull up the Facebook and see whether there's anything that I should be looking at. Make sure that there's sound. Yes, earphone is okay. Good afternoon. Okay, good. Yeah. So if we look at them in more detail, then we say we are probably attached to our family. Yeah. Some are more attached to their friends. And then maybe some are attached to their colleagues. Let me just adjust the thickness here. Some may be more attached to their colleagues. No? And let me see. Let me put in some lines here. So, in a way, if we are attached to our colleagues to some degree, then they can become our friends also. Yeah. Then 是. Yeah. So this can be a variety of things. It can be for something to happen. Yeah. Happening. Yeah. Or not. And the 物 is quite straightforward. These are our possessions. So when we say that we are attached to all this, what does it really mean? So it means that it usually means first and foremost that they matter to us, isn't it? Yeah. So the first thing is that that they matter to us. And because they matter to us, we care about them. And because we care about them, if something happened to them, then we are affected. Yeah. Okay. So changes affect us. So if being attached to something means that something matters to us, that we care about them, and that when they change, it affects us, then perhaps being detached means that these things don't matter to us anymore, and then we don't care. And when anything happens to them, it doesn't affect us. That's one way to look at it. Yeah, and that's perhaps a common way that we look at things. Yeah. So in other words, when we are detached to something, it seems to be if detached means don't care. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter, don't matter. And also, don't bother. It doesn't bother you anymore. Yeah. Then it is the same situation that student asked a long time ago, isn't it? Yeah, because just now we mentioned about how there are those who advocate that we shouldn't be attached, right? And in fact, it's not just some people. In the Buddha's teaching, he highlight that attachment leads to suffering. So then there are those who say, okay, instead of being attached, then we should be detached. So, but then if we say being detached means not to care, that things don't matter and we don't bother, then this seems like we are divorcing ourselves from everything around us. Yeah, the very things that are important to us. So the trouble with this approach is maybe we can do it for a while, maybe we can do it for good, but for many people, after a while you find yourself struggling. Yeah, because the truth is all these things do matter to us. Yeah, they do matter to us. So to tell ourselves that they don't matter is going into denial. So this is more about denial, and you can only deny yourself for that long. And as long as this is still the case, can you truly not care? It's very difficult. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Let me shift my writing somewhere. because my face is blocking it. So let me just draw this and move this down. How? Or what we can do is we can scroll. Okay. Let's scroll to the side so that none of the words are being blocked. Okay, good. So we can say that we don't care, that we don't bother, but that's more like saying things out of spite. But maybe for some people we can really do it. Then we are basically also cutting ties. Yeah. So if that's the case, then does it mean that the Buddhist practice is basically cutting ties with everything? Yeah. In which case, then where is the compassion? Yeah. If the Buddha's approach was to cut ties with everybody, yeah, then why would he still go back to Kapilavastu to share the truth that he discovered? Yeah. So the truth is somewhere in between. Yeah. So the easy thing to do, yeah, as I've often shared, easy thing to do is, because things matter to us, yeah. Hang on, let me change a different color so that it's more obvious. The easy thing to do is, because things do matter to us, and because of that we care, and so we are attached to things, and then they affect us. The opposite is also easy to do. Yeah, we tell ourselves it doesn't matter, we don't care, so we don't bother. Yeah. So if you want to do any of this, you don't need to learn Buddhism. The Buddhist path is a bit more difficult. It is to care, still care, okay? Still care, knowing that all these things do matter to us, but to care without attachment. Yeah, to care without attachment. So caring, so we have on one extreme attachment or detachment. So this is with care, this is careless. Okay, careless. So the Buddhist path is somewhere in between. Okay, so it is to care without attachment. What am I writing? Care without attachment. Yeah. And then this is a bit tougher. And in fact, this is very tough. This is the Buddhist approach. The Buddhist approach is to care without attachment. Let me see. Where is that? Yeah. But how to care without attachment? So, one of the things that I often share with students these days is, don't try to just not be attached. Yeah? Not to try to just remove your attachments, because there's a reason why we are attached. Yeah. So a huge part of our attachment is to do with our ego. Yeah. Because all this is linked to the ego of the I, mine, and myself. Yeah. Or me, if you will. Yeah. Me or I, mine or myself. So think about it. The things that matter to us is because it's related to us, isn't it? And we care because it is our something, our somebody, yeah, or we identify with that something. It can be external, it can also be internal. We care about our reputation, we care about our face, we care about our looks, we care about our family. It's all about our, yeah. So for a start, instead of saying, okay, don't care about everything, try to examine it closer. Yeah. So if it's not ours, then should we still care? If it's important, then it should matter whether it's ours or not, isn't it? Yeah. The well-being of our family, are we able to care even if they are not our family? Oh. So this is the approach to say, what if to consider, what if the I is not involved? Yeah. Can we, should we still care? We should, isn't it? Yeah. Even if it's not our family, if someone is not well, we should still care. Yeah. So in this way, if we can do that gradually, then it slowly extends outwards. Yeah. So as far as people is concerned, then in the Buddhist tradition, we have the practice of metta, yeah, metta karuna, which actually is meant to gradually extend to encompass not just those who are close to us, not just those who are dear to us, but to include innumerable sentient beings, even those who are not directly related to us. So the Buddha's approach is very interesting because in one of the sutta, which I often quote, the Mata Sutta on mother, he highlighted what he observed, what he saw, which is that sentient beings, we have been going around in samsara since beginningless time. So it is not easy, it's impossible rather, to find someone who has never been our mother, our father, our brother or sister, and so on. Yeah. So before we attain the wisdom, before we have the wisdom of no self, we will always have that reference to others in terms of self. So one approach the Buddha takes is to then highlight, hey, if you want to talk about self, then consider that all beings were once our mother. So then everybody is equally important, isn't it? Yeah. Also, this is one approach. This is using compassion to overcome that attachment to specific individuals. Yeah. We can also say that then that leads to attachment to all sentient beings. Yeah. But attachment has another feature, which is it is selfish. Yeah. Yeah. So attachment is usually linked to just specific groups, yeah, where we place as more important. So if you are so-called attached to everybody equally, then it's as good as not having attachment. So another angle, so this is using metta and karuna to overcome. So another approach is, oh dear, I keep writing in that space. Maybe I should shrink the window so I don't end up. Will this do? Cannot, still block. Let let me just move this down, and then I move the ego down. I rewrite here. So ego, and the approach is oh no, if I shift it, okay, I shift it over here. So care without attachments, using metta and karuna to overcome this. And then I shift this downwards. So another approach towards our attachment is consider the objects of attachment what am I writing? So instead of just saying, okay, what sometimes people do, because if I'm attached to something, let's say we are attached to A, and A leads to, then we say A leads to attachments, and this leads to suffering. So we don't want suffering, right? So then we say, okay, I don't want suffering, so I should not be attached. So I just remove this out of my life. Yeah. Sometimes we have to do this, because maybe we cannot deal with it yet. But at some point, you want to examine this. To examine it closely. And also to examine not just the object, but examine our attachments. Why are we attached to something? So oftentimes it has to do with certain qualities of A. Maybe we feel that it's very good, a lot of positive qualities. Now then we examine the qualities itself. Are they inherent? Are the qualities inherent in A? Or is it something that we impute into A? Which is our perception of A rather than what A really is. So we can do that kind of reflection. And perhaps that may help us to slowly change slowly our attachments towards it would change. Why? Because the way we look at things will change. And only when the way we look at the objects of our attachments change, only when that change will the way we relate to it change. And so it's changing from the root of the attachments. If you just try to remove attachment by itself, that wouldn't work. It wouldn't work long term anyway. Okay, so let me see. Everybody seems quite happy today. Yes, the note is blocked. So let me look at the question again. Anything else to cover? So this question is from one of the students. I don't know whether I covered everything that the person wanted to ask. I kind of rephrase it actually. One of the question, one of the topic. But the gist of it is that if we in Buddhism, there's strictly speaking no such a practice as to become detached to things. Yeah. Although sometimes some writers or some teachers may use the word detachment. Yeah. So for example, if you are a smoker, you may be attached to smoking. Yeah. Uh, and maybe while you are on the process of giving up smoking, you may have to force yourself to consciously not smoke. Yeah. But if you're not a smoker to begin with, or if you have stopped smoking for a while already, then at that point in time, do you have to, when you wake up in the morning, do you have to consciously detach yourself from smoking? You don't have to, isn't it? Yeah. Because smoking is not in your mind anymore. Yeah. So in Buddhist teaching, we are trying to move in that direction. We're trying to move in that direction. So ultimately, it's not about being detached from things. Yeah. We're also not trying to say be attached. Yeah. So Buddhist practices sometimes a bit trickier. Yeah. To care without attachments. Do you think you all can do it? To care without attachments? Yeah. Leave your comments. Attachments. I think for many people, attachments to change over time. When we are young, when we are kids, attachment to our toys is very strong. Yeah, and maybe attachment to our mother, our father can be very strong when we are young, because they are source of comfort, source of safety. And then as we grow up, some of this would change. We can become attached to our friends, our classmates, and they become more important. Then our attachment towards our parents may start to drop a bit. Not across the board, but it changes. And for some people, then at some point they become attached to their job, their position in the company, the role that they play. And eventually, if you settle down, then you become attached to your partner. You become, and if you have kids, you become attached to your kids. You buy a house, you get attached to a house. Yeah. Now, if you consider all this, right, it is almost without fail where the things, the people that we are attached to, those, the events, the things that happen that we are attached to, are inevitably that which give us joy, yeah, that which give us pleasure, happiness, yeah. So that is a common, something common. That's something common, and no wonder why we are attached, isn't it? Yeah. So so then in the Buddha's time, so there's this guy who lost his son, and losing his son died, and then he was very upset. So he shared this with different people, and he come across this person who couldn't help him, but told him that perhaps he can talk to the Buddha. The Buddha is perhaps able to help him to overcome his grief. So he, on that advice, he went to see the Buddha. I think the sutta is called Piya Jatika. Yeah, Piya Jatika Sutta. Yeah, that which is born from those who are dear to us. Yeah. So there are those which is dear to us, and then this sutta is about what is being born from that. So when he went to see the Buddha, he shared with the Buddha that he's very, he's filled with sorrow and so on because his son has passed away. So then the Buddha commented saying that indeed sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair. The whole mass of suffering. This arise from those who are dear to us. Yeah. So the man who just lost his son and who is grieving, yeah, he couldn't wrap his head around it. So he disagreed with him. He's like, what are you talking about? Those who are dear to us, they give us joy, they give us happiness. Yeah. Which, if you think about it, most people agree that statement, isn't it? But the Buddha is saying, no. Sorrow, lamentation, and so on, yeah, comes from those who are dear to us. Yeah. So this man didn't agree with the Buddha, so he just went off, and then he shared with other people, and then he met a group of gamblers, and he shared with the gamblers what he heard from the Buddha, and the gamblers were like, yeah, what kind of what is that, man? They also don't agree. Yeah, they don't agree with the Buddha. So this started to spread, and more people talk about this. That the Buddha actually said something that doesn't seem to make sense. So word of this spread, and it reached one of the king. I think is it King Pasinadi? And then so he was like, so this king has a queen, and the queen is a very strong, a very staunch Buddhist, so to speak, a very faithful disciple of the Buddha. So so in the sutta it described that the king then thought to himself, let me see what this queen will say. I think it's Queen Malika. So he said, like, let's see what my queen will say. Yeah. So he called for the queen and then told her what happened. So the queen, after hearing it, she was like, well, if the Buddha says so, he must have his reasons. She didn't immediately just agree and try to explain for the Buddha, but she has faith in what the Buddha has said. Yeah, so this is something we can learn also. It doesn't mean that we have to simply just agree with everything, but do we have that minimum faith, yeah, in the Buddha or teachers, yeah, to when seek clarification and to find out. But the king, upon hearing this, he was like, you are always like the Buddha this, the Buddha that. Go away. So he dismissed her. So after that, the queen asked one of the person, I think it was a Brahmin, and then asked him to go and see the Buddha and seek clarification. So that person went to see the Buddha, and then the Buddha explained that, explained to that man. The man then came back and then explained to the queen, yeah, that the ones who are dear to us, when something happened to them, whether they fall sick, grow old, or die, then we would get affected, isn't it? And that's as a result, we experience sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair. Yeah, so this arise from those who are dear to us. Then the queen was, okay, no, that makes sense. So she went back to the king, and then asked the king. So she asked the king about his son, General Siha, the ministers, the people, even herself, and so on and so forth. So all the individuals who are dear to the king, and asked him if each of them were to, if something were to happen to them, some harm were to happen to them, or if they were to fall sick and so on, would he not grieve? Would the king not grieve as a result? And the king said, of course. Would you not feel sorrow and so on? He said, yes, of course I would. Yeah. At which point then the queen said, then it's true. All these people are dear to you, and when something happened to them, you'll grieve. You experience sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair, and so on. And so then, the statement that Buddha made is correct, isn't it? That from those who are dear to us, then suffering arise, sorrow arise, pain arise. Yeah. And after this, then the king acknowledged and realized that so that the statement on the surface didn't seem to make sense, but actually, if you look at it deeper, then you realize that there's truth in it, there's wisdom in it. So then, so the sutta ends there. Yeah. So then the question is, why did the man not see it at the first place? Why didn't the gamblers see it? Why couldn't the king see it initially? Yeah. And perhaps more importantly, why do we not see it? Because the earlier statement that those who are dear to us, they bring us joy, that's not wrong also. And from this sutta itself, the man who lost a son is clearly grieving, yeah, having sorrow and so on. So what is the missing part, you know? Yeah. Perhaps it has to do with how we often look at things in a disjointed manner, and when they should be, where there is a link, we don't see a link, and where there is no link, we go and see a link. Yeah. So the fact that when the son passed away, the man do suffer, but he linked the suffering to the death itself and not to the son. Yeah. So this is the disconnection here. Failing to see that it's precisely because you're attached to your son. And why? Because the son brings you joy, that's why you're attached. And that's why when the son passed away, then you grieve. Yeah. So there's that missing part. Not seeing the connection between our attachment and our suffering. Yeah. And the attachment in turn depends on the son or the object, the individuals giving us joy. Yeah. We tend to see only part of it. And the reverse is also true. When we experience joy while being with somebody, then we impute the joy to that person, and so we become attached to that person, not seeing that the joy arises due to a variety of conditions. It's not singularly due to that not singularly due to that person, event or thing also. Yeah. The nice feeling, yeah, the positive experience, if you will. So we are not denying that we do have good experience with some people and not so good experience with other people. Yeah. But it's to see that the good experience is not totally due to that one person. Yeah. We are part of the equation, and there are other factors involved. So this, in the larger scheme of things, is actually looking at it from the angle of no self and emptiness. Yeah. That the good experience is dependent on conditions and is empty in nature. It's not inherent in the person, nor ourselves, nor in the conditions. So this is the other side. The first part is not seeing the connection between the suffering and our attachments, and in turn our imputed qualities to that individual. Then there's the other part, which is the fact that the qualities, the good feeling and so on, those are also imputed by our wrong thinking that is inherent. So take a look at the sutta. Do go and take a look at the sutta, and perhaps it can help us to look at ourselves, the people around us. Yeah. But remember, is don't reflect, and as a result, then stop caring about people around you. Don't do that. Don't do that, and after that say, oh, Venerable Chongguan say don't have to care. No, I didn't say that. Yeah, what I say is care, okay? Care without attachments. Yeah, because if we were to go deeper into it, many times our attachments, as I mentioned earlier, is actually about our ego. Yeah. And that's the part that brings suffering. Yeah. When we are attached to someone, oftentimes our attachment can bring about friction. Yeah, and it's because of our ego. We are attached to what we think is that person. So we end up oftentimes restricting how that person should be, can be, or will be. Yeah. And when does it mean just because we have this idea of how the person should be, yeah, because of our attachment, then the person will be? No. The person will just change and, you know, become whatever it is, you know. Yeah, but if we are attached, our attachment, you know, our impression of how that person is, then we may then impose our attachment onto them. So go and explore. Okay? Let me take a look and see if there's any questions. Let me refresh the page, because sometimes I realize that if I were to just look at the page without refreshing it, then the comments are not updated. Okay, let me take a look. Is caring without attachment called acceptance? I would say, so the question Justin Pang asked, is caring without attachment called acceptance? I would say acceptance is part of, they are closely related. They are closely related, yes. So so depends on what the acceptance is about. Yeah, acceptance of the way things are, the way people are, is linked to caring without attachment. Yeah, because then you stop imposing your own idea, yeah, which is what you are attached to really, of how that person should be. So, but at the same time, what is this acceptance also? Yeah, recently there was a question about whether we should, whether it's okay if unwholesome qualities arise in us, should we face it with acceptance and just observe, watch it arise, watch it cease? Is that acceptance? If acceptance is like this, then no, don't accept. Yeah. Especially towards ourselves. Yeah. If we accept ourselves in this way, then we have bad habits we accept, then we don't change. Yeah, shouldn't be. Yeah, and especially if it's parents towards children, teachers towards students, yeah, doctors towards patients, yeah, then acceptance of it, then it means that, what does it mean? Does it mean that you just watch the child do stupid things and yeah, I said it's do stupid things. And nowadays cannot, or the children do things, cannot say it's stupid. It's stupid. Yeah. The whole thing about political correctness sometimes is really getting out of hand. Because if that's the case, then there's no stupidity in the world. Yeah, if we cannot say that, oh, this person is stupid, then the word stupid have to be removed from the dictionary. Yeah, so depends on how you define acceptance. If it's accepting how people are and would change, then that's different. Or like maybe parent towards the child, towards your children, as they grow up, they have their own life, they have their career, they have their partner. So you have to accept that your relationship, although you are still mother, the mother role, the name of the role don't change. You are still the mother, but the role itself have to change, because the role, our role as mother, is not inherent. It's not fixed also. It depends on you and the child. Without a child, you are not mother. Without you, there's no mother. Yeah, it's not just the second part. No, most people think, if I'm not around, then there's no mother for you. No, but without the child, you're also not mother. By yourself, we cannot be mother or father, right? Correct or not? So think about it. So if any of these two, the parent or the child change, then the role that is linking them would change. And there are two roles here that links them. One is the parent towards the child, one is the child towards the parent. As the parent grow older, then the child's role also changes. The child cannot continue to act like a kid. At some point, there's a role reversal, isn't it? The child have to adopt the role of the adult, have to start to take care of the parents, you know, and has to start to practice patience towards the parent, just as the parent, when the kids were young, the parents have to have patience towards the child for them to learn about this world. So if it's acceptance in that way, then I think it's good. Okay, let me scan through. Okay, I think that was the only question for today. Sherry mentioned, Shifu, the line is blurred between responsibility and attachment. Yes, indeed, that's very true. And that's the challenge. That's the challenge of life, isn't it? Yeah. How to still be responsible but not be attached. So there's this famous words, not by me. I always use it, but it's not by me. Okay, don't be mistaken. Which is 因上努力，果上随缘。Sorry, sometimes the order I write wrongly. Don't mind me, as long as you all can recognize it. Yeah. So, cause and fruit or result, and then effort, and this is condition. Okay, conditions. So as far as the fruit is concerned, that means the result. Let me restart again. So for whatever result there is, there's always the cause, but there's also the, so we have A, which is the cause, we have B, which is the condition, and then we have C, which is the fruit. So we can say A plus B, you get C. This is a very simplified model. So as far as this causal equation is concerned, then in terms of the cause, we must put in effort. Okay, more effort. Yes. And then as far as the fruit is concerned, you have to depend on also the conditions. And conditions would include many other factors that is beyond your control. What you can determine is your own effort in terms of the cause. So in terms of parenting, do what you can, do what you should do, what you have to do. as a parent, then how the child develop then have to depend on many other conditions. Many times we can influence certain of the conditions, but we are not able to have absolute control. If you try to exert absolute control, you are going to get into trouble. Your child will feel stifled, and then the child will just maybe rebel and run away. But you should be more concerned if your child submit to your absolute control, because then you'll be in trouble also. When your child is in the 30s and texts you, "Mommy, should I hold the girl's hand?" Then you're in trouble. Yeah, "Mommy, should I take up this job?" Then you're in trouble, or daddy for that matter. But I just mentioned about parent-child. This applies to all the different relationships we have. Oh. Let me see. Then Lee writes, "If you are not attached, I think it's generally hard to develop care. The question of why care pops up." Yes. Yeah. So why care, right? So this is the tough part. Yeah. So this is our habit. We only care about things related to us. And that's why in Buddhism, just I mentioned about love and compassion. Yeah. So to still care means to have love and compassion towards others. Yeah. That is care without attachment. Yeah. In ordinary life, there are people who also care without attachment. I like to think that doctors and nurses, they do care about your well-being, but and ideally they should not be attached to the patients. Yeah. And I like to think that many doctors are able to do that, because if they are not able to do that, they will be overwhelmed. Perhaps that's why there's a lot of studies. There are some studies where they find caregivers, suffering from depression. Yeah. And if I may, I think this has to do with the attachment part. I'm not blaming the caregivers for having attachment now, but I'm saying that is part of the factor, perhaps, that causes a person to become depressed, over the ward that they are caring for. So there are many other cases, like teachers who genuinely care for students, but if they really care for a student, they have to then set them on the right path to go further their studies, and not hold them back. So there are many other examples. The question is, how do we apply this towards our family members? This is the tricky part. But the teachings are already there. The trouble is using them. The challenge is using them. How to use them, or how can we be effective? If we think that it's going to be easy, then we are in for a surprise. It's definitely not easy, and but all the more we need to keep on using it and trying. And that's where the examination comes in again. Earlier part mentioned about examining those that we are attached to, right? So doing this can help. And that's why in the Buddhist teaching, there's always this thing about seeing things as they are. So instead of just running away from the object, the people that we are attached to go and examine. Because our usual way of relating to one another is not examination. We are just spinning our own stories. So the Vipassana is about really looking at it and seeing what are we attached to. So try that. If you do that, then over time you will relate to whether it's friends, family, or things around us, even ourselves. We will relate to all this differently. We will perhaps start to see that that which whom we are attached to, actually that attachment is based on our own fabrication. And when we truly see that the very individuals that we cling on to and hold on to actually is a collection of many factors and conditions, then we may come to an acceptance that our attachment is our own problem, or not their problem. Yeah, then we can truly care for them without our baggage of attachments. Yeah, so the why part, why care, right? Yeah, is because, well, we are suffering, they are suffering, everybody is suffering. Yeah, but even more importantly is that when we truly see that, then we are able to still care. Yeah, and that's why we want to remove the attachment. That's why it's important for us to work on this. Okay, so I hope today's session has been helpful. So this is the zoom out view. Alright. If you all have any other questions or thoughts, feel free to drop a comment inside the below in the comments, or write your thoughts down, and I will try to comment and reply offline, or maybe next week. Okay? 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。So this morning, I had news of a plane crash, an Indonesian flight that crashed. So please join me to extend love and compassion and dedication of merits towards those who perish in the crash, and towards the family of those victims. May they find peace wherever they are. May they find strength, and wherever they are reborn in, may they come in contact with wholesome friends, with the triple gem, and be able to learn and practice the Buddha Dharma. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。